So when it comes to a lot of these politicians, don't sit here and trust them when they talk about, oh, we just want we want the rights of Palestinians protected. Because the thing is, if you really were fighting for the rights of Palestinians, you would actually say that we need to end the occupation. Now, the fact is that people like Adam Schiff, Barbara Lee, Katie Porter, and pretty much all these politicians get money from these Zionist pro-Israel lobbies. I'm telling you why a ceasefire is nowhere good enough. Let's say Israel does do a ceasefire. It's only so that more Palestinians will leave their land and go to Egypt, and then it's open land that Israel gets to take hold of, and the Palestinians won't be allowed to return. Oh, we talking about it. Oh. All right. So this lady right here, the one that sounds like she needs a cough drop all the time, Katie Porter, because between her and who's that politician? He was head of the DNC at one time. Oh my God, he sounded like this. He sounds like he needs a lozenge. Him and Katie Porter, like I'm like, clear your throat, please. God, they sound like they make me want to cough. Anywho, look, Katie Porter was in hot water recently. Let me get this up. Because this thing was funny. I was just like, hold up, wait a minute. Where my notes at? Where my notes? I got a lot to say. Yo, Dre, I got something to say. Okay. So Katie Porter is a well-known progressive congressperson from California, and she often receives praise for her whiteboard demonstrations and questioning of business leaders, politicians, and bureaucrats in committee hearings. Now, she's been put into the hot seat by activists calling for a ceasefire. Let's take a look. Not a look, a look. Because Katie Porter she was called out. And we're going to find out why she was called out. All right. Come on, computer. You can do it. You can put your back into it. Okay. All right. So, says, this is from Daniela Pardo. Says, demonstrators chanting ceasefire now interrupt Katie Porter while she was on stage talking to voters at the California Democratic Convention. Oh, let's take a look. Let me clear my throat. God damn.
California, in this race, has an opportunity to address not just a policymaker, but also a political leader. I know what it takes to win tough races. I would ask you to allow me to please finish my remarks.
Did you hear what she said? She said she wanted to speak. Wait. She's like, please let me finish my speech. Like, the people are speaking. Look, your bosses are speaking, Mrs. Porter. Your bosses are speaking. Are you listening? Goodness gracious. All right, hang on. Let's continue. Put back just a little bit. Let's go.
Please finish my remarks.
You know what I love? She's standing there like a teacher in her class. That's like, are you finished yet? See, here's the thing. The people are yelling because they want you to push for a ceasefire now. If you're not saying anything outside of, okay, yes, I will push for a ceasefire, they're not going to be quiet, and they shouldn't have to. but you want to finish your speech. You see, the thing is that everything that these politicians do is pre-planned, pre-packaged. So I'm going to give this speech, I'm going to get my applause line, and then I'm going to get people to vote out for me. And they're like, no. We're not going to go for what you planned. We're actually going to demand a ceasefire. And the ceasefire is for Israel to stop bombing Gaza, stop bombing the open air concentration camp, so that people in Palestine stop dying. That's what they're doing. And guess what? She ain't having it. But we'll get into why she ain't having it. But let's continue.
I would ask you to please allow I have won 3 tech races, and I know how to message in a way that will help us win a durable Democratic majority.
She said, I won 3 races, and she knows what it takes. She won 3 races. You know, I don't give a crap if you know what it takes to win pre what's been going on since October 7th. I don't care. The thing is that the electorate, the people who are screaming at you to ceasefire, things have changed, boo-boo. It's not the same. So now you need to shift. And if you're not going to start speaking out on behalf of the people and start speaking against the genocide that's happening, oh, they ain't playing with you no more. The tide has turned. The tide has shifted. This speech that you're making right now, it would have worked back in 2022, but it's late 2023, baby. And it's not, no, they're not playing that no more. Oh, you know how people talk about, oh, we're complaining about, well, now people are waking up. Ooh, it's not looking good for her.
People will help us be able to win up and down the ballot, to win in every county, in every place across the country.
All right, here's the principal coming in to quiet down the class. Here comes the principal.
Hold on 1 second. Every candidate.
Yo, hold up. Wait. I'm gonna take y'all back to school. Hang on. Remember when the students will be acting up in class, and then the teacher will be standing there, and then the principal comes in, and he had to quiet down the class. He or she had to quiet down the class, and the teacher would be standing there like this. Right? What does that look like? It doesn't that look like a teacher and the principal coming in to reprimand students like we're petulant children? Get the hell out of here! Good Lord!
Every candidate in this race deserves to be heard. And every candidate in this race will be heard. Okay? So let's allow the Congresswoman to finish her remarks, and then we'll move to the next candidate. Thank you.
California needs strong leadership in the Senate.
So that's her stump speech for running for Senate. And here's the thing. She said, we need strong leadership. Strong leadership would have been like, okay, I hear you. I am for a ceasefire. She would have got the crowd on her side. Boom, right then and there. But she doesn't know how to work the crowd. She doesn't know how to work the crowd. She doesn't know how to acquiesce to the people's voice. Because if she did, she would have said, I would have started, you know what I would have done? All right, here's JB Politician Edition. If I would have heard them say, ceasefire now, I would have been like, you know what? I hear you. And then you know what? I would have started chanting with them. I would have said, ceasefire now, along with them. And they would have quieted down. And then I would have said, yes, I am absolutely for a ceasefire with you. And this is one of the reasons why you guys should vote for me to be Senator of California, because I also stand for people living their best life, not just in Israel. And now she could have spun it however she wanted to. She could have said, I want peace for the Palestinians and as well as for the Israelis, and boom. She would have got everybody on her side in that crowd. But because she was like, would you guys let me finish my speech? Like, are you guys going to let me finish my speech? You guys are interrupting. This is that same civility politics BS that people like Chris Coons and Senator Elizabeth Warren, that they have invoked. Senator Elizabeth Warren, you're ruining my dinner. Chris Coons, this is a quiet car. Man. Right? Are you guys going to let me finish my speech? Like, no. The time for civility politics is over, because civility is being used as a tool to cover up for genocide, austerity, and suffering. Oh my God, will you stop complaining that you got shot in the chest? Your blood's getting all over my floor. Will you bleed quietly? Bleed to death quietly? That's what's going on. They're asking you to bleed to death quietly. Go over there into the corner and suffer in silence. I don't want to hear it. You're ruining my TV show. Stop it. Die quietly. I don't want to hear you gasp for air. Can you please don't bother me while you're suffocating? That's it. That's how they are. So we shared that. Now, let's share what was going on outside of that very room, because this also was happening. And we taking over. All right. So let me share this with y'all. I don't know. I'm in a silly mood today, but I don't know. I just like clowning on politicians that actually do not support ending a genocide and illegal occupation. But let's go. All right. So this is outside of the room. So it says the California Democratic Convention has been completely taken over with demands for a ceasefire. In the room, Dem delegates and voters chant over speeches from Katie Porter and Adam Schiff, who are anti-ceasefire. Meanwhile, a huge sit-in in the lobby. This is what they're doing, baby. Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! So just so that you guys notice, I see a lot of young people, a lot of Gen Z, a lot of people who are just turning 18 or had just turned 18 last year, and they're eligible to vote, or just about to turn 18 in 2024, and they'll be eligible to vote. And a lot of them are saying ceasefire now because they see what the hell is going on. They got a Twitter, they got a TikTok, some of them got an Instagram, and they are seeing what is going on. And they are not stupid. These kids are not dumb. These kids are brilliant. And they're seeing what's going on. And they are seeing literal babies blown to pieces. Fathers crying, trying to dig through the rubble for their children. They see mothers screaming and running in the hospitals because they discovered that their child has just died. They're seeing siblings comfort each other. They're seeing big brothers and sisters crying over their dead baby siblings. They're seeing little boys and girls crying over the death of their big brothers or big sisters. They're seeing this, and it is having an extreme effect on them. Now, I have plenty of disagreements with people like Crystal Ball. But one thing that she said, I definitely agree with. She said, this, for a lot of Gen Z especially, this is their Iraq war moment. Where a lot of young people of my generation, millennials, Gen Y, right? We were like, when we saw what was going on with the Iraq war, a lot of us were like, oh, hell no. What a lot of baby boomers saw during the Vietnam War, when they saw what was going on, they said, oh, hell no. No. A lot of us are seeing what was going on. In the Vietnam War, a lot of us saw what was going on in Iraq. We said, oh, hell no. This is the moment for Gen Z. Gen Z saying, no. And so they're smart. They're brilliant. And they've been saying it. They've been looking on TikTok. They've been putting all the pieces together. Now, I'm going to share this really quick as well, because I think a lot of people are not aware of what's going on as well as in regards to Katie Porter. So Katie Porter, of course, as many people don't know, has Zionist proclivities, and she's had them for a while now. And I'm going to share this article where she actually praised Netanyahu for being open to dialogue with her. The right-wing fascistic Benjamin Netanyahu. Yes, I'm going to play on his name. I'm going to play on him because Netanyahu is a horrible person, so he deserves to be clowned on. And I'm a clown on Netanyahu left and right as much as possible. Hang on, let me take that down. Okay. So, this is an article out of Mondo Weiss. Says, Representative Katie Porter pushed for Dem delegation to meet with Netanyahu. Says she was extremely impressed. So, it says last month. So, this was back in March of this year? Yeah, March 7th. So, it says last month, 15 Democratic House members traveled to Israel as part of a delegation sponsored by the liberal Zionist group, J Street. I want you guys to keep in mind that group, liberal Zionist group, J Street. According to a new Jewish Insider interview with Representative Katie Porter, the Congresswoman pushed the delegation to meet with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and was, quote, extremely impressed with his willingness to grapple with us on some of the toughest issues that Israel is facing. In January, Porter launched a Senate campaign, which is she's running in right now, where they were basically screaming ceasefire now, to succeed Senator Dianne Feinstein in 2024. Now, remember, Dianne Feinstein, she died at the age of 99 while still in office. Was she 99? Something like that. 90, 99. I don't care. She was old. She was old. So she died while still in office. Anywho. So, she was running for 2024. It says fellow California representatives Adam Shifty Schiff and Barbara Lee are also running for the seat. It said Porter told JI's Matthew Kessel that Netanyahu was extremely generous with both his time and his thoughts, and thought J Street Group was really able to have an interactive dialogue with him. She says, I was extremely impressed with his willingness to kind of grapple with us on some of the toughest issues that Israel is facing, everything from judicial reform, an issue that we're having questions and discussions with about right now within the Democratic Party here in the United States, to issues about the West Bank and about settlements. She said, we emphasize that, and I think Netanyahu emphasized back, that there's a long-term project here, which is to have a vibrant, secure Jewish democratic state of Israel. And in order to do that, there needs to be opportunities for the Palestinian people to have their own elected government and governance and land, she continued. Says, how we get there is unclear right now, but we shouldn't let the impediments to that progress prompt us to give up on the goal, given its incredible importance to Israel and to the region and to the United States. Says Porter has emerged as a progressive favorite in recent years as a result of her fierce advocacy for consumer protection and forthright questioning of right-wing officials during congressional hearings. She is not known for her foreign policy positions and admits that Kessel that she's new to the issue, but she certainly doesn't typically vote with a relatively small group of House members who champion the rights of Palestinians. She's not a co-sponsor of Representative Kate Betty McCollum's bill aimed at impending Israel's detention of Palestinian children. She voted in favor of additional $1 billion in Iron Dome funding in 2021 and backed a 2019 House resolution condemning the nonviolent BDS, that is Boycott, Divestment, and Sanctions movement. She's also praised the tightening of sanctions on Iran. So, just as an aside here, she funded the Iron Dome, meaning that she definitely supports Israel. She supports the settler colonial project that is Israel. Just so that anybody goes, well, she's a progressive. No. And a shout out to Savvy Sabs for coining the phrase regressives. We're going to make that name famous. The regressives. Because that's what everybody within that Democratic Party is pretty much. Now, as far as the people who are the least of the regressives, I would say probably somebody like Rashida Tlaib, because she's gotten a little bit more intestinal fortitude within the last month or so, especially since what's been happening in Gaza. But for the most part, I still consider them all regressive. So shout out to you, Sabs, if you're watching. But yes, the regressives. They're not progressive. They're regressive. Regressives. Okay, let's continue. I bet you forgot about that. But anyways, says Porter also told Castle that she has reached out to local IPAC officials, the Israel lobby, for Middle East analysis and to read Noah Tishby's 2021 book, Israel, A Simple Guide to the Most Understood Country on Earth. Here's the thing. Let me come in here for a second. Israel is not misunderstood. Oh, we understand it. Because if you look at the history of what's been going on, it is understood that it is literally a settler colonial project. And people will say, well, the Arabs, they didn't want the Jewish state to exist. It's not that they didn't want the Jewish state to exist. They didn't want the Palestinian land to be taken over by force. They were cool with Jewish people. They just didn't want Zionism to take over their land. See, there's a difference. If you want to come and live next to me, that's all good. But just don't take my stuff. Don't take my house. Don't take my land. Don't take my olive trees. And then don't push me into an open air concentration camp and control my movement in the West Bank of wherever I go. And on top of that, also, do not sit here and take away my food, my electricity, my water, and my fuel. And also, don't put me on some type of plan measuring out the amount of calories that I can get in the area that I live and deem what I can and can't eat. All this happens. All this happens. And don't you dare treat me like a second-class citizen on my own land. That's how it is. But that's what's been happening in Gaza, in the West Bank. And the minute I resist, you guys call me a terrorist. It's not like that. Talk to the people who actually visit the West Bank. Go ahead, talk to them. Talk to Kim Iverson. Talk to Max Blumenthal. Talk to Norm Finkelstein. Talk to Aaron Mate. Talk to these people that have literally visited, that have been to the West Bank, that have been to Gaza. They will tell you from their own admission how horrible the conditions are. That you're only allowed to walk on certain streets if you're Palestinian. That is only reserved for Israelis. What the heck do you call that? It's called apartheid. Meaning apartheid. Separation. One class or one race of people get treated better than another. Apartheid is just another form of Jim Crow. It's just a Jim Crow outside the United States. Let's continue. So, says Tishby, who is an Israeli actress and a special envoy for combating anti-Semitism and the delegitimization of Israel, is an outspoken opponent of the BDS movement and an advocate for the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance controversial working definition of anti-Semitism. She regularly equates Judaism with Zionism and claims that anti-Zionism is inspiring attacks on Jewish people. Here's the thing. What many Orthodox and Hasidic Jews have also stated was that Judaism and Zionism are two completely different things. Zionism is a political ideology. Judaism is a religion. This is like equating, it's not a complete one-to-one. It's like equating capitalism with Christianity. Like capitalism is an economic system. Christianity is a religion. Why are we equating the two? They're not the same. Can Christians be capitalists? Yes. And are all capitalists Christian? No. Just like not all Jews are Zionists and not all Zionists are Jews. There are a lot, in fact, most Zionists, I would argue, are actually Christian and don't have any Jewish ancestry. So this equating of Zionism and Judaism, even a lot of Jewish people don't agree with. So, yeah. Anywho, let's continue. So she talks about lies about Zionism and how from the river to the sea, they consider it to be anti-Semitic, which is complete and utter BS. And so basically that is about Representative Katie Porter. Now, I told you guys to remember the name J Street, right? And so how she is associated with the group J Street. So what is J Street? Let's take a look and here's what I got to say. From what I've researched so far, and I could be wrong, but Katie Porter doesn't get money from IPAC. And then you hear a lot of people talk about IPAC and how IPAC is the Israel lobby. And while IPAC is very famous for being lobbyists for Israel, they give to both Democrats and Republicans, not enough people are talking about J Street. J Street is also an Israeli lobby. It's a pro-Israel lobbyist group. So let's take a look at J Street, because not enough people are harping on J Street. See, if we're going to go after these Zionist lobbies, we also need to go after not just IPAC, but J Street as well. Now, this is J Street's own website, right? It says, the political home of pro-Israel, pro-peace, pro-democracy Americans. Now, let's go to their myths and facts. So it says, our support for Israel. So, myth number one. Hang on, let me make sure. Yeah, I'm enlarged. Okay. Myth number one. J Street is not truly supportive of Israel. Let's see what they say. They say, oh, let's enlarge this baby. All right. So y'all can see it in 4K, bright and clear. It says, we are committed to Israel's future as a Jewish and democratic homeland living within the secure and internationally recognized borders. The question is, how did we get here? They say, we believe that a two-state solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is the single best chance we have to secure this future. First of all, number one, do I believe that a two-state solution is possible, doable, and logical? No. I'm going to tell you why. Because if you look at Israel, number one, it's taken up some Palestinian land. So it's already on stolen land, first of all. Number two, the settlements that they're on is also stolen land, the illegal settlements. So they've taken land away from Palestinians. And then on top of it, you would have a pocket here and then a pocket here. And those pieces are not connected. So then you would have, this would be one state and then that would be one state, and it just doesn't work. So you would literally have, so where would the clear border lines be? It would be sprinkled. On top of that, the Greater Israel Plan does not want a two-state. It wants a single state, an ethno-nationalist state of all Jewish people, nobody else. Which means clearing out all the Palestinians. Because the land that the Palestinians are on, they want it all. Greater Israel actually means to grow Israel beyond the borders that is seen right now. Beyond, into places like Jordan, into places like Egypt, into places like Lebanon. They want to grow Israel beyond what you see already. They don't want a two-state. Israel doesn't want a two-state solution. They want to grow Israel even bigger than what it already is. Why do you think they're bombing Gaza? So this whole thing about, oh, well, we want a two-state solution. Israel don't want no damn two-state solution, and Palestinians want their land back. It's not possible, baby. And then on top of that, one state will be treated better than the other. Let's continue. And this is the big point here. I want you guys to listen closely. They say, we believe in the Zionist ideal on which Israel was founded. That of a Jewish homeland where Jews can always go to be secure. We hope that Israel will live up to and represent the core Jewish values of justice, equality, and democracy. Now, they try to clean it up by saying, we don't believe that agreeing with everything the current Israeli government does should be the litmus test of what it means to be pro-Israel. Here's the problem. They're basically saying that we still believe in settler colonialism and stealing the land of the Palestinians. We just don't want them to do it in a mean way. So we're cool with colonialism. It's just, can you be nicer about it? Steal the land more nicely. Take the land nicely, right? Apparently, that's what J Street is. It is a Zionist organization. Now, let's go into who gets money from J Street, because we got to know who still agrees with Zionists. So first, I'm going to start off with IPAC, just so that you guys see. IPAC gives money to Democrats and Republicans. Ooh. So IPAC is American Israel Public Affairs Committee, right? They give to Democrats and Republicans. They give more to Democrats than they do Republicans. They give 62.44% to Democrats, and they give 37.51% to Republicans, right? So, let me share. So I have it on set filtered by Democrat, and let's do all. So you guys can get both House and Senate. So of course, let's just go down the line to anybody that we might recognize. Of course, Steny Hoyer, of course. Shontel Brown, right? Wasn't she the one who beat Nina Turner in Ohio in the race? Well, she's getting IPAC money, right? So that's no surprise. Richard Blumenthal. Look, there goes Richie Torres and his trifling ass. Yep. Of course, Mr. Michael Bennett, Tammy Duckworth. I'm just looking at people who I recognize. Of course, Florida Congresswoman and spokesperson for ramen noodles, Debbie Wasserman Schultz. She's getting a good chunk there, right? Chuck Schumer. See? Oh, look at there. Look at there. The dude from Django Unchained, James Clyburn. Oh, he's definitely in with IPAC. Hakeem Jeffries. Look at that. This is just the first page, y'all. There's 7 more pages to go. All right? Let's go to page 4. Frederica Wilson. These black people have no solidarity with the Palestinians. I'm telling you, it's a lot of these black politicians, man. Crazy, man. But yeah, so I just wanted to quickly share what some of the people who are getting IPAC money. But let's talk about J Street, right? Because that's what I really wanted to share. So just to give you an idea of who IPAC's recipients are, let's go to J Street. Now, I'm going to show you something with you guys. Very interesting. Now, J Street gives 100% to all Democrats. I want to make that abundantly clear. Here you have a Zionist organization that gives to only Democrats. They don't get Republicans. But they still agree with settler colonialism. This needs to tell you something about Democrats. All right. Now, let's continue. So, 121 members that are given. So, 20 members, right? All right. So, I had it set up for the House. because we're looking at people like Katie Porter, right? But let's go down the list. Let me see. Here she is, Katie Porter. Boom. Whoop. Look at that. So she gets money from J Street, right? So it shows that, of course, she's going to be going along with the continuation of taking Palestinian land. I haven't heard her say anything otherwise. Let's continue to go. Oh, look, there's Ro Khanna. Interesting. Ro Khanna, Jerry Nadler. Oh, interesting. Summer Lee. Say it ain't so, Summer Lee. Really? You also getting money from Zionists? Okay. All right. I see you, Summer. I see you. Who else? Because I saw some names in here. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Barbara Lee. And guess what? Guess what, chicken butt? Everybody was saying, well, Barbara Lee, she's one of the only ones that actually calling for a ceasefire. And yet, she's getting money from Zionists. Barbara Lee, who's also running for senator of New York against Katie Porter and Adam Schiff. Interesting. And Barbara Lee gets all the praise. She always gets praise for, oh, well, she was one of the only people that actually voted against the Afghanistan war. I'm telling you right now, do not meet your heroes. Because a lot of people are always praising Barbara Lee. Like, oh my God, Barbara Lee, she's so progressive. And yes, she gets money from Zionists. So what now? So if you're in California and you're trying to vote for somebody for Senate, and you're looking at Adam Schiff, Katie Porter, and Barbara Lee, and you're like, well, I'm trying to find who doesn't take money from Zionists. Guess what? You're stuck like Chuck. You ain't got no Democrats and that's running that you can actually depend on to not be teamed up with Zionists. And like I said before, the people who say they call for a ceasefire, I said it before, ceasefire is not good enough. Ceasefire is way below than what it should be. Let me continue this, and I'm going to talk about why I disagree with just ceasefire. I say ceasefire is not good enough. I'm going to tell y'all why in a second. So let's continue. So Barbara Lee is in that list. Jamal Bowman, homeboy, right? Oh, I forgot to show y'all. I think this is on page, or I think he's on the first page. Jamal Bowman. Let me see. Oh, he might not have been on the first page. There was another one that I saw that a lot of people were like, would be like, what? Let's go to page 3. I'm just looking for people who I may recognize that. Oh, I remember why. Let's do all. So y'all see. J Street. Raphael Warnock also gets money from J Street. Right? Tim Ryan. Mark Kelly. Working Families Party actually gets money from J Street. Did you guys know that? Interesting, right? Mondaire Jones gets money from J Street. Jessica Cisneros wasn't she a progressive that was running? Jessica Cisneros? Wasn't she the one that was running in Texas against Henry Cuellar? Yeah. Yeah. Jessica Cisneros. Just because they say they're progressive doesn't mean they're actually progressive. Just because they're trying to be in the squad, what's that now? So people really need to look at and go, where, like, follow the money, baby. Follow it. Because a lot of people, you don't know. And until you see who they get money from. So when it comes to actually looking at people who get money, like Pramila Jayapal, they're telling you who they get money from. Jim Clyburn gets money from IPAC and J Street. Look, Connor Lamb. All these people. All of them. So when it comes to a lot of these politicians, don't sit here and trust them when they talk about, oh, we just want the rights of Palestinians protected. Because the thing is, if you really were fighting for the rights of Palestinians, you would actually say that we need to end the occupation. Now, we already went to that. So the fact is that people like Adam Schiff, Barbara Lee, Katie Porter, and pretty much all these politicians get money from these Zionist pro-Israel lobbies. I'm telling you why a ceasefire is nowhere good enough. Let's say Israel does do a ceasefire. It's only so that more Palestinians will leave their land and go to Egypt, and then it's open land that Israel gets to take hold of, and the Palestinians won't be allowed to return. Remember, destabilization is to put fear into the people who occupy the land to chase them away. The bombing, the sexual assault, the cutting off food, water, electricity, and fuel are all tactics to chase them away, to chase Palestinians off of their land. If it was only about getting Hamas, they would use special forces to go in and extract Hamas, just like a SWAT team would go into a school or a church to extract an active shooter. But they don't do that. They bomb hospitals, they bomb schools, refugee camps, churches, and then they use the excuse that Hamas was using this as a location, as a base. Now, question. They were using an Israeli hospital as a base. Would that hospital be bombed? That would be seen as crazy, and rightly so. You would not and could not conceivably bomb a hospital full of people just to get at a very small few of militants or people that you deem terrorist. That's ridiculous. And yet, people will look the other way or believe Israel when they go, well, Hamas was in this location, so we had to bomb it. But then when somebody pushes them back on it, well, then they go, see, they're all Hamas. They're all terrorists. All Palestinians are terrorists. So now you're blanketing an entire group of people with terrorists. See, I know a little bit about this being a black man, because a lot of times we get generalized and we get blanketed all the time. Just ask a black person about the last time they went into a store and how we get profiled. We get profiled all the time. Palestinians are literally getting profiled. And they're losing their lives over it. We know. We get profiled too. So when somebody says that, oh, we just need to have a ceasefire, I'm like, that should be a piece of what happens. The ceasefire needs to happen. The food, water, electricity, and fuel need to be restored. And the occupation needs to end. The occupation must end. And people will say, well, the Jews need their own state. They can live in Palestine. They can live among the Palestinians like they've had for hundreds and hundreds of years. How fair is it to take a land from people who have been living there for centuries? How fair is that? How fair would it be for me, with my ancestry being Nigerian, and if I go to Nigeria and take land from somebody else, let's say hypothetically, there's some Nigerians that have lived there for hundreds and hundreds of years, and I go there and I take it from the Nigerians and I go, well, this is my land. It's my land now. How fair is that? It's not fair. And people can say, well, the Jewish people are ancestral to this land because God promised it to them. Okay, so a guy named originally Abram that was renamed Abraham by God, and his wife Sarai, which was renamed by God Sarah, and his mistress Hagar decided to move from the city of Ur, which is located in Iraq, over to Palestine, and they lived in tents that were promised there. Abraham has a son by the name of Isaac, which is translated to laughter, because when Sarah was promised by an angel that Isaac was going to be born to her, even though she was like 90 years old, she laughed like, oh, that's crazy, I'm not going to have a kid. And she laughed, and then they said, oh, that's going to be the name of your son. His name is going to be Isaac, which is translates to laughter. She had her son named Isaac. When Isaac was a young man, God told Abraham, okay, I want you to sacrifice your son. Abraham was willing to do that. Then he stopped him, said, no, you're not going to sacrifice your son. So what you're going to do is, as a sacrifice to me, there's a ram that's been caught in the bush, sacrifice the ram. And so I'm going to make a nation out of you. Isaac has a son, Jacob. Abraham has two sons, Isaac and Ishmael. Ishmael was the son that was born out of Hagar. Isaac was the son that was born out of Sarah. Out of Ishmael came the Ishmaelites. Out of Isaac came out the Israelites. Right? Isaac has a son named Jacob. Jacob has 12 sons, which are known as the 12 tribes. Look, trust me, I studied all this. They have the 12 tribes of Israel. Right? You have the tribe of Judah. You have the tribe of Reuben. Reuben. One of the youngest was actually Benjamin. You have Joshua. And so, because of that, this is all in the Bible. Israel is also Jacob, because Jacob's name was also Israel. And so they were promised the land that the Canaanites were, which is basically Palestine. So that's basically what it was. So if you ask me, the original people of the world, of the land, are actually the Canaanites. The Canaanites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Amalekites. So we're going to talk. You guys want to talk? Okay, let's go back into history. Let's actually read from the book. I got Bibles in the house. Just because God promised it to them, that was your God, not their God. Is it fair? Is it fair to actually take that land from other people? Because that seems to be God-ordained colonialism. People have said that they have the right by God to take over this land. What happened to the indigenous people of this land? I used to preach door to door for almost 20 years. I had to know all this information. Was it Hagar? Did I get the name wrong? Oh. Yeah, Hagar. Yeah, I was right. Yep. My memory still serves me. I remember. Okay, yeah. But yeah, that's basically, that's the whole that's really the history. So that's why when people calling for a ceasefire, I applaud it, right? I applaud that you guys calling for a ceasefire, but it's not enough. And people like Katie Porter are not going to really call for a ceasefire because they get money from the Zionists. And the number of Israelis that were killed on October 7th, that's stagnant. It has not went up. But the people, for the most part, or if it's still going up, it's going up extremely slow because there's not really troops on the ground. They're just flying over and bombing. But the amount of people who are Palestinian that are dying is skyrocketing. So when it comes to these politicians like Katie Porter, no good. This is why I say the duopoly, toss them to the side. They're not good for any one of us. They don't support the Palestinians. And even more so, they don't actually support Jewish people either. Because they're willing to keep Jewish people in harm's way when it comes to doing an illegal occupation, which the Palestinians have to resist because they're stealing their land, which push Jewish people in harm's way. I'd say that's pretty anti-Semitic. Let me share this. Because a lot of people are going to be like, oh my God, you support Hamas. Do you condemn Hamas? I saw this.
I fully endorse.
Let's take a look at this. This is
I fully
a beautiful
endorse.
takedown by Norm Finkelstein. And then we'll get into the chat.
I fully endorse the goal of dismantling this organization and just killing their leaders wherever they are so that they can no longer hold Gaza hostage, which is what they are doing, and can no longer commit mass pogroms against the Jewish. You cannot talk about any kind of two-state solution. You can't talk about any of that until you get rid of Hamas. And I would put the question to you, do you support the dismantling of Hamas?
Before I let him continue, before I let Norm respond, when he talks about nothing can continue until they get rid of Hamas, why didn't these solutions happen before Hamas came about? Hamas has not been around for the most of the time that Israel has been occupying that land. Hamas has been around less than half the time that Israel has been occupying the land. So What about back then? See? So once Hamas is gone, then what? It's going to be another excuse. Well, we got rid of Hamas. Now what? Why aren't you guys ending the occupation? Oh, because they don't want to. Let's let. Now, Norm Finkelstein is going to do a brilliant takedown. I want you guys to take notes.
Good question.
Okay. I'll answer that question because I never shy away from questions as long as I've thought them through. And then number two, what should be done now? So let's take a simple case. About 1,400 people, according to Israeli figures, about 1,400 people were killed on October 7th. Of those, about 350 were soldiers. If you look at the figures for, let's say, Operation Cast Lead, it's about the same. 1,400 people killed in Operation Cast Lead, about a quarter of them Hamas militants. So roughly the same. So if you're of the opinion that because of what Hamas did on October 7th, it has to be destroyed, not just dismantled, it has to be destroyed. That, by the way, is Bernie Sanders' position. I acknowledge that. Then, by that reasoning, the Israeli government has to be dismantled and destroyed. Now, that's just one massacre. See, that's just one. Because Israel likes to periodically mow the lawn. In Operation Protect...
I thought you were going to answer the
okay,
question.
I'm answering the question. I'm saying if Hamas has to be dismantled because of what it did on October 7th, then if you take Operation Cast Lead, Operation Pillar of Defense, Operation Protective Edge, then the Israeli government has to be dismantled 10 times over.
Yeah, I follow you, but it's not really an answer to the question.
Oh, it is an answer to the question.
Because
it's called keeping a single standard.
No, it's
You want to
No,
talk
you
about you want to talk about the 290 Israeli hostages? I say fine. But then let's talk about the 2,300,000
that Hamas
Gazan
has held
hostages. Gaza. Oh yes, Gaza. Hamas is closing the gates. I know that. Gaza is Hamas is
love to open the gates to kill more Jews.
Yes. Okay.
I don't think.
And now,
Wait. Yo, here's one thing I love about Norm Finkelstein. He may have some opinions that I may disagree with. That's okay. One thing I love about Norm Finkelstein is his sarcasm. Oh. And that's, look, this is one thing I love about some Jewish people is that they have that sarcasm that just cuts. And it just, especially when they're not about that BS, when they're speaking the truth, God, especially when they're from up north. Oh, God. Norm Finkelstein is a national treasure. You gotta love Norm Finkelstein. Oh my gosh. Okay. He was like, oh yeah, Hamas, yeah, they're the ones who are locking the gates. Right? Yeah, I love it. Give it to him, Norm.
I understand your point of hypocrisy.
I'm saying,
but
no,
whether you think Hamas should be
everyone to a single standard. Number two,
should both governments? What do you mean Israeli? What do you mean by dismantling the Israeli government?
If you want to decide that Hamas has to be dismantled because of what it did on October 7th, I say fine. But then the Israeli government has to also be dismantled because for 20 years, it's kept the whole population confined in a concentration camp.
I don't understand it.
And periodically,
I get you.
And periodically mows the lawn.
Okay,
it mows the lawn.
Professor,
yeah.
but
no, you can.
You want to destroy the world's only Jewish state.
Let me respond. Let me ask you a question. Hold on. Just hold on
you
one second.
You want to mock now? Maybe
I'm not going to mock you.
I will mock you.
Maybe.
Let me say
comedy. Comedy. Maybe
now you're getting personal. Let me just get my answer.
Comedy may be your forte. But the suffering of humanity has been what I've been about since I came onto this earth.
Now
and I am not.
Are you going to let me answer?
I am not going to trivialize the fact that 1,100,000 children in Gaza are now the object of a genocide. I see no humor in
Okay,
that.
hold on a second.
Nothing
Hold on a second.
funny
Hold on a
about
second.
that. I would betray the memory of my parents were I ever to mock, ridicule, find funny, whatever.
Hold on a
what's
second.
being done
Professor,
to those people in Gaza.
Professor,
It is a crime that makes your heart just scream
Professor,
at what's being done to them.
no one.
السلام عليكم. لا تنسوا الإعجاب بالفيديو.
All right, people. That was how you take it down. Because the thing is that you have to go back in history. Because everybody wants to go, October 7th, October 7th, October 7th, 2014, 2012, 2010. When people talk about October 7th, all right, then condemn what Israel did on October 8th, October 9th, October 10th, October 11th, October 12th, October 13th, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Look, people are like, oh my God, 1,200 people killed. Yes, that is horrible. 1,200 people. What about the 12,000? What about the 12,000 that have been killed needlessly? What about them? Why would I burn the house down to get a wasp nest? Why am I going to burn the house down because of a wasp nest? Aren't I just going to bring in a specialist that knows how to deal with wasps and extract a wasp nest? If that's the case. But it's not about that. It never was. And it's clear. And so when people go, oh, well, we need to get at Hamas. Why am I going to... And I'm not comparing this to Hamas. I'm just saying as an analogy. If you come to me and you have a tumor, a cancerous tumor, why am I going to kill you to get rid of the tumor? Oh, this person has a tumor? Well, just kill him. That way you get rid of the cancer. Does that make sense to you? If you have a cancerous tumor, let's say you have a cancerous tumor in your leg. Why would you kill the person? Why would you even chop the leg off? Why don't you just extract the tumor out of the leg? Just take the tumor out. They still get to keep their leg. Oh no, we just got to chop we just got to chop the leg off. How does that make sense? And here's the crazy part about it all. Everybody is using logic right now, and this is why there's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people just in cities alone, just in Washington, D.C., not to mention the millions of people that have gathered to advocate for Palestine around the world. Why? Because they saw what was going on. And because they saw what was going on, they applied logic. And so, because of that, you know, we're going to sit here and say, well, we just have to get at Hamas. Well, that's what we have to resort to. I'll put it to you this way, and I'm gonna say it, and I'm gonna make no look. I'm gonna stand 10 toes down on this. I'm gonna speak with my whole chest. They're okay with that. These politicians, especially, are okay with Israel doing that tactic because they regard the life of Palestinians less than. Katie Porter doesn't value the lives of Palestinians as equal to anybody else. Neither does Adam Schiff. Barbara Lee, she's calling for a ceasefire, but it's not good enough. But she doesn't want to go against the Israel lobby because it's out of fear. There's no spine there when it comes to that. All these politicians, no, because they value the lives of Palestinians less than they value other people's lives. And if they value the lives of Palestinians less than, what do you think they think about people who look like me? Also, what about the people who are poor, working class? By the way, and this is going to be my last note for you guys. If Israel is so willing to do what it's doing to Palestinians, what makes you think that they won't do it to you if they're pushed to that point? I said what I said. If they're willing to look the other way at what Israel's doing and even fund what Israel's doing, that means that they are willing to do it to you. I'm telling you. This is why we got to change the system, like Sergio said. And by changing the system, this means doing some actions that may require us to be ones who continue on with our continuing our building of community with each other, right? I think that's important. Talk to your neighbors. Do actions on the ground. Like, for instance, here's a link. Find a protest to stop the Gaza genocide. It says how to rise up Palestine. So, and then you can find protests, or you can educate people. Talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends, talk to your family about what's going on. Let them know that this isn't right. And then connect it to the system. Connect it. Let people know, hey, look at, like, for instance, bring up how the boycotts are actually working and is causing these companies to lose a lot of money. Bring that up. And then say, well, if we can do this for Palestinians, imagine what we can do for ourselves. Let's start getting that hamster on that wheel running in the minds of our families, friends, and neighbors. And then also mutual aid, right? I think that's important too. But that's how we do this. And the thing is that these news stories they're bad and they're depressing, but we have to find the solutions within these in order to be able to change the system so that we have less bad news. We have less negative news. Less news that hurts our hearts. Less conditions that put us under the thumb. I think that's what we need to do. It's in our hands. So we have to be able to do it.